You too, brother. We'll talk again soon.
Yes, sir. We're gonna keep in touch.
All right.
Hello, Adam.
Mitch. It's my son.
Oh, yeah?
Darian.
What's up, man?
You already signed it, thank you.
Did you?
That's your book?
Oh, you did?
Dale Skip Van Rensalier, better known to me as Dad. Congratulations on your new book release. Very proud of you. I love you, and I'm excited for all the things that's to come. You a fine brother. I just want to let you know that, and I know where I get it from. But thank you for having me. Thank you for being my dad, and I thank you for writing this book. I'm excited to read it, honestly, because I want to read about the history about everybody else and everything like that. But appreciate you, Dad. Love you.
Besides it being a labor of love, as I'm doing the book and doing the interviews, I learned more about Paterson in those year and a half that I had known all of my life. I mean, talk about the historical journey I went on. I know Brother Shelton would definitely understand and appreciate a lot of history. I'm encouraging, we're having a book signing this coming Friday at Norman Square, and this Thursday I'm going to John Holland School, thanks to my good friend Anna, and speak to the young kids. Also, I have members here from the First Family Zion Church, and I know Brother Prescott has found amazing history from our church. We're the oldest church founded by African Americans in Passaic County. And someone had mentioned to me when they found that I was doing the book, Skip, you have to say something about the Underground Railroad because I'm a direct descendant of William Van Rensalier, engineer, along with abolitionist Huntoon. But what I found out was Huntoon's Corner, which is located downtown Paterson, where the plaque is and where the statue is, the slaves would come up through Garrett Mountain, and they would send a signal up to Garrett Mountain, and they would come down Stony Road. I never knew there was a real Stony Road. I'd take my car to Stony Road on McBride Avenue to get it fixed. But the people who would escort the slaves down to Huntoon's Corner were members of the Godwin Street Amy Zion Church, which eventually became the First Amy Zion Church. So there's a lot of history. He'll probably be here later on, but Jimmy Richardson, who's really not the official historian of Paterson, but he did an amazing historical perspective of Paterson. And I wanted that to be done because when you read the stories, everybody has their own perspective of growing up in Paterson. But the one common thing, maybe two, but the one common thing I found about doing these stories is that when the participants told their story about growing up in Paterson, the common denominator, if you will, was we played outside till it got dark with no technology, and when the street lights came on, that was your signal to go home, all right? If one person told me that story, there was at least half a dozen more told me the same story. I appreciate all of those who have purchased the book. I encourage you, not so much because I ain't about to be on nobody's bestseller list or make all this money, but I'm really encouraged about the stories. And I even did a page called Spontaneous Selection. And just very briefly, there's so many people that I've been acquainted with and found as friends and acquaintances over my years in Paterson, through my fraternity brothers, church, 37 years at the Paterson School District. And I said to myself, one of my concerns when I wrote this book was, who am I going to leave out? Somebody's going to buy this book, pick it up and say, Skip, I can't believe you did a book about Paterson and didn't have so-and-so in it. So I did a page called Spontaneous Selection. And as Uncle Floyd alluded to, I am spiritual. I'm a Christian under construction. Y'all figure that one out. But y'all know what I'm talking about. But my favorite scripture is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. Acknowledge him in all your ways and he shall direct your path. That's my spontaneous selection page. I said, you know what? I went to Mayor Sayer. I needed, I know he has a large Muslim constituency, so I asked him for a couple of names. But other than that, I said, Lord, just direct me to certain people to be in the book. And that's what he did. And I just kind of ended that page by saying, if you're not in the book, just appreciate the stories that you're going to read. And even myself, now that the book is published and is out there, I'm running across people. There's a gentleman here who works here for 19 years. I can't remember his name, but he's Muslim. And he's running down his story about how he went to the White House and he did this, and now he's working on his doctorate. I'm like, damn, man, you should be in the book. But there's not going to be a Up Close to Paterson Part 2. So please, if you haven't purchased the book, not for the sake of Skip, but for the sake of Paterson, pick it up, read about the history of your city from the perspective of your fellow Patersonians. Amen? Amen. Enjoy the rest of the evening. We'll be here till 9 o'clock. 3 more hours. Anybody have any questions about the book at all before I put down the mic for the rest of the evening?
Who's in the book?
Wow, a number of people. If you look at the back, just to give you an idea, people I introduced this evening, but other than that, you have former Councilwoman Vera Ames, Reverend Clayton, Councilwoman Cotton, Scott Cumberbatch, Democratic Chairperson John Curry, Maritza Davila, church boy, the church man Elvis Durham, and here again, David Gilmore, who he enjoys this title, so I don't mind saying he's controversial. And I saw him one day at the Underground Railroad site, and I asked him to be in the book because I think we needed to hear his perspective. Amber Hawk, Ben Leake, unfortunately he's passed away, but I'm glad I got his story before he passed away. Ray Lyde Sr., who they named the field, Old Putman Old after. Al Moody, my brother-in-law, Arnett Moore, Congressman Pasquale, and there's a number of people in the book. In the range, besides the ethnic diversity, they range from, I have people who are ex-drug addicts up to Congressman Pasquale, so and everything in between. So I feel you'll really enjoy the book. I'm encouraging, we're having a book signing this coming Friday at Norman Square, and this Thursday I'm going to John Holland School, thanks to my good friend Anna, and speak to the young kids. Jennifer, tell us where your book is, where they can find your book.
Well, what you have to do is call me. I have 3 books. The first one is called Skate Key, and this is about what it was like to be a kid back in the day before we had cell phones and air conditioning, and kids played outdoors and roller skated on metal skates that needed a skate key. There are 22 stories, 11 take place in Paterson from the Great Depression through the 1980s. The second book I wrote is called Italians of Greater Paterson, and Uncle Floyd is featured in that book as well. My father was an immigrant, came to America when he was only 6 years old, and he went to school number 2. Talks about what life was like, you know, to say Italians that moved here. My grandfather was a ditch digger with a shovel and a pick, had to dig the foundations for the buildings. My grandpa put the foundations in for some of these buildings here. The third book is called Colorful Journey. And Colorful Journey is historical fiction. And because I am a volunteer at the Great Falls National Historical Park, I have people coming from all over this country, all over the world, to the Great Falls. And one of the questions I'm asked very often is, why do you have a real castle in Garrett Mountain in Paterson, New Jersey? So I decided to put a book together with the history. The history is real. George Washington and Alexander Hamilton having a picnic lunch at the Great Falls, planning the first industrial city in America. And so, the history is real. When I was a little girl, my father used to take us on a colorful journey up Garrett Mountain, across railroad tracks that are no longer there because Route 80 is in the same path. We would walk up the mountain, go to a water spring and get ice cold spring water, and then walk to the Lambert Castle. So the history is real. Who was Lambert, Catalina Lambert? Why is there a castle? It's all real. The fiction is that my daddy isn't taking the kids up Garrett Mountain. A groundhog takes the kids. They have to guess his name. And he takes the kids on a colorful journey up Garrett Mountain, and they tell the history of Paterson in that way. So those are the 3 books that I wrote, and in all honesty, I want to thank you for putting me in this book and
You're
your
very welcome.
book. Thank you.
Okay. So now,
My name is Zena Van Rensalier. I am the proud wife of Mr. Dale Skip Van Rensalier. So I was just asked, how was it while Skip was writing the book? And the only thing I can say is that it was interesting. It took a long time. I know that it took a long time, but it was just interesting to hear all the different stories that he shared with me before the book actually was put together. And as he said in his remarks over the last few days, over the last few weeks, that a lot of the people he thought he knew in the book, but he really, really found out who they were, once they told their stories. And so, I'm just so proud of him. I'm anxious to read the stories in the book. I started a few, of course, beginning with my brother, who's in the book. So I read his story, and I read Mr. Nelson's story, and a few other ones. So, I'm just excited, and I'm anxious to read the remainder of the stories. But I just want to say that I'm just very proud of him, and it was a good ride. It was a long ride, but it was a very good one.
The book that I just finished writing is Up Close in Paterson. What I'd like to do at this time is there are 35 people, Pattersonians, who I interviewed for the book who had different stories. And when you read the book, I said this a million times, I've spoken about it a couple of times already, that it turned into a labor of love. These are people who I'd known who I thought I knew for years. And when you get the book, you'll see very familiar names. When you read the story, you get a whole new perspective on their life or how they arrived to where they are today. And what I want to do is introduce, we have a few of the members of the book who are here this evening. I want to start by introducing them. We have Jennifer Renaud. Jennifer is an author in her own right. She's written 3 books, at least three books. And you can catch her, I don't know if it's every Sunday, she's up at the Falls telling the story about Paterson with her Central High School cheerleader outfit on. So Jennifer Renaud, and we have Miss Ann Adams, I call Double A. Ann and I go back years and years, when she was coaching and reffing at Eastside, and I was scorekeeping or trying to scorekeep, and it wasn't for Anna. I remember the first time I tried to scorekeep for a volleyball game, I had no idea what I was doing. Thank God Anna was there. She was very nice about it, because she'd come over to the table and say, with a smile on her face, that's not right, Skip. But she's also a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Yes.
And I spoke to Andre Sayer, and I'm purposely saying Andre Sayer because we know who he is. He's the mayor, but we have here this evening another member of the book who's actually the mayor, Mr. D'Angelo Duke Dangerfield. He's also in the book. And in the back, Mr. Juan Mitch Santiago. If you were in Paterson years ago, back in the 70s and 80s, his name was very familiar. It was written all over everything. Paterson was his canvas. As a matter of fact, I had my own office for a while at Eastside until I got on Joe Clark's bad side. He kicked me out. But he allowed Mitch to come and do the graffiti on my wall. I can't remember what it said, Ghost Forever or he's an amazing talent, but people who just knew him as the graffiti artist, but you don't call it graffiti, what do you call it?
Aerosol art.
Okay. We'll find out here, get a whole new perspective of Mitch's story. I was very glad that all of them agreed. And last but certainly not least, who's here now, and I'm going to give him the floor if that's okay. And I don't mean to sound negative, but my neighbor across the street, the book showcases the different ethnicities that we have in Paterson, the diversity of Paterson. That's what I want to showcase. So obviously you have African Americans, Hispanics, Caucasians, Muslims. And my neighbor across the street, who's, I think he's Italian, is John Italian? Anyway, I went to John, and I wanted John to be in the book. And he said, well, you know, I have coffee, or I see Uncle Floyd every morning. And I'm sorry, I thought Uncle Floyd was dead, I really did.
Sometimes.
When he told me Uncle Floyd was still alive, I immediately called him up, he gave me his number, because he's a legend in Paterson as far as entertainment. And if you've never heard him, he's going to give us just a little bit of his talents. All right, so without further ado, for the next 15 minutes, please enjoy Uncle Floyd.
Thank you, Skip. Am I dressed okay for this? I got this outfit at Larky's. I'm very interested. This is a wonderful museum. I'm just a little disappointed in one aspect, that there's no tribute to the Texas Wiener hot dog, which was invented right here in Paterson, New Jersey. You can't go to Texas and get one all the way in an order of Frenchies. Anyway, we'll move along. I've been in Paterson. I live in Totowa now, which is not too far away, but our hearts are always in Paterson. And it's the most interesting city I've ever seen in my travels. There's not one bridge on Bridge Street. The bridge is on Arch Street. There's not one tree on Shady Street. If you know where Shady Street is, in the Bunker Hill section, which, by the way, there's not even a foothill in the Bunker Hill section. It's the flattest piece of land in Paterson. The Lakeview section does not have a lake. Go to the Lakeview section and ask them where the lake is. They'll tell you get on Route 80 and keep going out to Lake Apacon eventually. It's unbelievable. It goes on and on like this. All the east streets in Paterson run north and south. You cannot go east on East 18th Street. And East Main Street is actually west of Main Street. I don't know how many. Are you people paying attention? Because we're going to play Trivial Pursuit after this, and first prize is 2 tickets to my next show, second prize is 4 tickets to my next show. I started my career on stage in public school number 5, right here. Right. Somebody told me 60 years ago, someday, you know how far you're going to go? To Market Street. I go anywhere for a show. I was in Camden last week. I got lost and I said to somebody, excuse me, how do I get to the hospital? He hit me on the head with a pike. Maybe that's funny in a nightclub. But we joke about Paterson because it's in our hearts. But look at Wayne, New Jersey, named after General Mad Anthony Wayne from the Revolutionary War. You know why he was mad? He couldn't get his troops across Route 46 with all the construction going on. This country, the United States of America, rebuilt Germany, and we rebuilt Japan after the Second World War faster than we could connect Route 46 to Route 3. You don't go there? No. Anybody from out of town? Anybody from Prospect Park? There's a town that they have one school. What do they call it? School number 1. No, it's true. You're laughing, but I'm... Don't leave, sir. We need you behind the camera. Hold on. I feel like the house band on the Titanic. Which, by the way, they were the worst band that ever lived. The water was up to here, and they keep playing music like they're going to get time and a half. And they were playing Alexander's Ragtime Band, the #1 song in 1912 when the ship went down. If I was leading the band on the Titanic, I would have said, hit it, boys, by the sea, by the sea, by the sea. Well, I'm taking that one out of the act. In 1968, I was working on Squire's, I think they still called it McDermott's, a bar on Trenton Avenue. We were allowed to work back then because in Paterson you could get an ABC card. A boy at 16 was considered a man at that time. So alcohol beverage control. We could work, we just just couldn't drink or touch money in our hands. We had to be put in a tip cup. But I remember the first joke I told on Trenton Avenue in 1968. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Squires, the big show place of the Lakeview section of Paterson. You heard the news today. Frank Sinatra just married Mia Farrow, brought her home to meet his mother. He said, Mamma Mia. You laughed at the worst joke I told. I'm giving you free tickets to every show.
I would be there.
Another thing that bothers me is Garrett Mountain is not a mountain. I know we're all Paterson people here. I mean, we learned in 3rd grade the difference between a mountain and a hill. You can walk up a hill, but you have to climb up a mountain. Who has to climb up Garrett Mountain to get there? And, no, you're laughing, but it's true. We also have a section in Paterson called the Hillcrest section, which is no such thing. We learned in grade school, public school number 5, a sea has a crest. A sea has a crest. A crest is something that moves. The top of the waves is the sea crest. But there is no hill crest. Only in Paterson do we have a hill that actually moves. It's not funny, but that's the part of the act you'll remember tomorrow. I work every day because I have 7 children, 6 boys, 1 girl, and 5 grandchildren. And this is, yeah, well, I don't have much education. I like you, my man. You're coming to all my shows. No, don't stop, don't stop.
No, I get it. I get it. They don't get it. I get it.
Well, I'll just sit here and we'll talk. But I'm very proud of my history. My family came to Paterson from Italy. They lived, they came as children, my mother and father. They lived downtown. My father lived on Passaic Street, my school number 2, my mother on Lower Market Street, and my grandfather was very instrumental in the Italian Immigrant Theater at Lazara's Music Hall. And they had plays in Italian for the immigrants in Little Italy. And they're very interesting because, I'll translate one real quickly. An elderly woman came to Ellis Island, very old and, you know, all covered up in her little shawl and everything. And the inspector says, I'm sorry, why are you coming to the United States at this advanced age? I'm translating this all in English. She says, I come here to find my son. He left for America at age 12 and I haven't seen him since. He worked with his father. His father was a shoemaker and he worked with his father. And a lot of kids did back then, and they never came back to Italy for one reason or another. And as they're talking, she realizes that immigration official is her son. And, you know, the audience, very dramatic, start crying and yelling, and they hugged each other and sang 6 songs. But that was the way the theater was at Lazara's. On my father's side, our family owned and operated the Plaza Ballroom at 560 Main Street. Mm-hmm. That was the big dance hall where Louis Prima came, and even Lawrence Welk, and later big rock and roll stars. So that's my history. That's all I know. But I did something very beautiful happen. If you remember this morning, it was snowing, right? It was snowing, and I said, oh boy, this is gonna. Well, it was a sign for Skip, because I know you're a spiritual man, and I told you this before. We have a lot of people who are spiritual here, and I consider myself one. That was a message from up above, because snow turns into rain, and rain is water, and we all need water, and water brings life. And I said, Skip, so does your book. Your book brings to life our people. That's all the time I have now. I have to report to the Casino de Charles next. No, that's good. But thank you, Skip. It's an honor to be in your book.
Councilman at large, come on up and say a word. Let's have a big hand for Councilman Uden.
Tell people how we met.
I was getting ready to say something about that, but it might be a different story. When he was campaigning,
My sister.
huh?
With my sister.
With your sister, I thought it was his daughter, came by the house, and I'm not trying to be prophetic, but I knew this gentleman was going to be elected because he just had, he was real, he was honest, he was genuine, and I wasn't surprised at all that you were elected. So let's have a couple words from our councilman at large.
Thank you. I'm so glad. It's my honor to be here and to Skip. And he called me to call him Skip, nothing else.
Yeah.
And everyone knows him by this name. So it's my honor as an educator, and what else I can say, I have no words to say, and appreciate the stories you have brought, these are stories of us, Paterson stories. And as he says, this Paterson known by his history, and there's so many stories and stories of the phenomenal individuals, and you have covered so many individuals and their stories as a nonfiction. So I really admire that and love to read every single story you have covered in this book. And as a Patersonian and as of my neighbor, Mr. Skip, I feel proud that I live in a city where an author lives who tells these stories of Paterson. That's all I can tell.
Thank you.
I'm prouder than ever. This is the proudest moment. And
Okay, any other member of Alpha Phi Alpha want to come and say something? Area Director? Brother Lucas, want to come say something? Huh? I didn't either, but I just came to sign books, brother. But that is our area director. Come on up, Brother Lucas. It's good to see you, brother. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Again, my name is Alexander McLucas, and I'm the 13th District Director of New Jersey for Alpha Phi Alpha chapters. And again, it's just an honor to be here for the book signing, to see this great exhibit and the great work that this chapter, Delta Mu Lambda, is doing in Paterson. I mean, I'm only a stone's throw away. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. I spent a lot of time in Paterson. One of my daughters, Leilani, she's from Paterson. So every time I had to come pick her up, I was always driving by East Side, sort of East Side movie and all that great stuff. So, Paterson has always been a second home for me, just, spending a lot of time here. So just to, see the book signing and meet different people who grew up in Paterson, but also has made a tremendous impact in Paterson. This is a great event. I'm just happy to be a part of it. I thank the brothers for inviting me out, just again, so I could be a part of this fantastic event. It's a monumentous event, along with everything that's going on. So again, congratulations to the Delta Mu Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Just keep doing the outstanding job that y'all are doing. Keep promoting good brothers. Keep doing the work in Paterson, bringing in good brothers, and there's no limit to the things that you can do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
How's everybody doing?
Everybody's
Good.
How about you?
Ah, we're doing fine. We're doing fine. Where's your daughter now?
She is in Springfield, Missouri.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I have yet to see that play. Shame on me. I'm trying to raise one to come back to New York. I hate the fly.
It's always in New York. Yeah, she's just on the tour. She's in a different company that's touring. But she just got offered to come to New York to play her role in New York.
Let me know when.
I will.
Half skip, let me
It
know
won't be
when.
until the summer. If she
that's
accepts
okay.
it, it'll be in the summer.
Right,
She's
right.
excited about coming back home.
Great,
But
great,
she's,
great.
yeah, she's in this, it was 3 different tours that were touring all over the United States and Canada. She just happened to be in one. They're usually like in the Southwest and the South.
The South,
They
right
didn't
there.
come,
Last time
closest they came here was North Carolina.
Right, no, I was going
But
to say
there is
North
a tour that came to DC, but it wasn't hers.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Hopefully
As a matter of fact,
it'll
we
take-
can probably take the bus
Yeah, to New York, right?
to New York,
Yeah,
right? Exactly. Yeah. I know she got hurt. She told me that
She was hurt in 2020.
Well, I need you to sign a book for me, man.
No problem, brother.
You want me to sign it?
Where's your extra stack?
Extra stack.
Extra book. You got names on these.
Yeah, she did a good job. This is just the beginning. Man.
I know.
I was trying to visualize how it's going to look when we have the whole thing in here.
Right, exactly. Well, you know what? We're going to start. Well, I got to leave it up to the chairman. Because, he already told me once, I'm the chair.
Okay. Okay, Chair.
I'll leave it up to him, but I'm looking forward to next year. This should be a quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just grab it. You want a box? Yeah. You want a box?
He just needs the name.
I don't know who should make it.
Oh, okay, got it.
I'll make it really easy. Just sign it. I don't know who she's signing for.
Would you sign it?
One is definitely for her.
Who's her?
My mother. The other four, I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't feel right saying Patricia.
Pat.
I don't feel right saying Pat either.
Huh?
I don't feel right saying Pat. Okay, Pat.
Why?
Okay, this is for Pat Cumberbatch.
Yeah. Technically grew at like 7:55.
Oh, was that correct?
But I knew when I left yesterday because they were saying that they were
Known her son for a million years.
I didn't think they were going to close it. I had just before I had that one, take a half day.
Okay.
And I was in the system. And I was thinking, well, maybe we'll have a delay open and I'll just work with
Well, we can't delay it, Tech, because of the bus.
What's the bus?
Yeah.
Listen, I thought about it when I introduced him. I got it. I think she might be the only one I went to her house for an interview. Man, she kept going to the house, bringing out stuff. I said, yo, she's a storyteller.
Yeah. It would be consistently you.
The rest of them just signed, right? Thank you for your report.
Hey, Skip. You gonna flip out on something?
What's that?
30 years ago.
You did that?
And he has this still. Look, 30 years ago. I did this 30 years ago. Wow.
Oh man. Mitch World. I like, hey.
That's nice.
Give me 1 second. If y'all get a chance, let me have your attention. If y'all get a chance, remember I told you about Mitch? They pulled out some of his work how many years ago?
30 years ago.
30 years ago, he did this. Mitch Santiago.
This artwork was done about 30 years ago. It's part of the museum's collection. And it says the world is nothing but a big stage and we are its players and performers. And it's about music, hip hop, culture, street culture, the thug. Did you see the graveyard, different multicolors, theater, and you see the music signs here. So that's what the world is all about back then, and it is the same thing right now as we speak.
Congratulations, brother. I'm sorry I didn't RSVP. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it. So I'm glad I'm here. Good to see you, man. Number 2, huh? All right. You going to sign one for me?
Yeah, go see Duran. Pay him.
So much. You did say Dr. Thomas, didn't you? That sounds so good to hear. Thank you so much. Hard work.
I know.
Hard work. There's so much time. I'm glad it's over.
It's over, right?
I am so glad it's over.
That's over.
I'm only 2 weeks. It took like 7 years.
Oh, you was that?
Yeah, 2 years delay because of COVID. So without COVID, I would have been in the car. They said it's supposed to be food.
What did he do? You got your doctor?
Yes, sir.
Praise the Lord.
Just 2 weeks ago.
Really?
2 weeks ago. On Valentine's Day.
Oh man. Dr. Garrett Thomas. That's what I'm talking about.
God is good, man.
Yes, he is.
3 months for 1 year. No, he's so cute.
I know I wanted 2, but
I don't. I'm gonna get one at least today. I don't know what I have. I had Venmo. I don't have Zelle. Do I have? No, I think I have Zelle. I have Zelle. So it's that. All right. So, but you gotta sign it to Rodney and Deanna. And then the other one be to my mother-in-law. So but I'm gonna buy mine now for Rodney and Deanna. That's the yeah.
Bring it down here, I'll sign it for you, brother. Up close to Paterson.
Right here.
He makes us all proud. Above everything, he makes Paterson proud. Right, Pastor Clayton? He makes the Alphas proud. He makes anyone that went to Eastside High School, and he goes here, he makes Eastside High School proud as well because he is an Eastside High School Hall of Fame. Last week, we were at the Underground Railroad site downtown in Paterson. And as you know, amongst many things, Dale Skip Van Rensselaer is a direct descendant of a conductor of the Underground Railroad site in Paterson. And so that is to be celebrated as well. But what makes me most proud is that there are so many stories to tell in this city, a city of history. And up close in Paterson, Skip is telling those stories. Telling the story of a multicultural mosaic that we have come to know and love is Paterson. And he tells the story from different generations and ends with the Underground Railroad itself. But also talks about Hitchlift Stadium, Shelton, which is going to be brought back to life on May 11th. And everyone is invited for the rebirth of our Field of Dreams. And if anyone knows anything about Skip Van Rensselaer, he is passionate about Paterson, but he's also passionate about the Dallas Cowboys. And if you didn't know that, you can go on Pastor Kenneth Darrell Ray Clayton's page, and almost daily during the football season, you'll see some type of meme. But he's not trying to be mean, Skip. He's trying to help you. You need therapy. So that's the formula. It's therapeutic, right? But nonetheless, we're not here to roast Skip Van Rensselaer. We're here to celebrate Skip Van Rensselaer as an MVP, a most valuable Pattersonian. Congratulations, Skip. Thank you. You look good, Skip. Anybody tell you that today? Yeah, they did good.
Just don't say 06.
Well, you got something.
Don't say.
Okay. Tell them what you said.
I told him don't say 06.
No, I'm not getting recruited.
I would just like to introduce a couple more people who are in the book. Maestro personified, Mr. Scott Cumberbatch, who's in the book. And we've talked about the different stories, but I really encourage you, if you want to wait till the end, there's about 3 or 4 pages of serious historical facts about Paterson. And I owe that to my historian, Mr. Jimmy Richardson.
Jimmy!
Come on up for a second, Jimmy. He encouraged me to bring Jimmy up. I would have done that ordinarily, but we don't have any Snicker bars outside. Because once this brother starts going. Now, I love him to death. He's good. Say a couple of words. Anything you want to know about Paterson, he knows. And he knows it verbatim, and he knows it up here and in his heart. Jimmy Richardson.
Thank you, Brother Skip. Thank you so much for coming out for this book signing for Skip. I haven't got my copy, so I have not gotten a chance to read it or see it. I see it, but not read it. I want to say that I was really inspired by Skip's ability to pull so many people together with so many different backgrounds. And it's basically a tapestry of Paterson. And it really shows, even though I haven't read it, the fact that I know some of the people who were involved, I think it's going to be a great seller and well, certainly a guiding light for people who want to know more about modern day Paterson. Yes, I do know a little bit about Paterson. I know enough to get me in trouble. But basically, my focus is on the African American history and presence in Paterson. And what makes it so much more interesting is that the history between all nationalities overlay. And that's where it comes in, and I'm able to kind of dissect Paterson's history. I don't want to get started because I don't want to say to me what Moses said. You know what he said, right? Let my people go. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Besides the historical part of the book that he did at the end, even when I was talking about and writing about the Underground Railroad, and I spoke to Jimmy, he gave me some facts that I didn't know. He corrected some things that, thank God, I didn't put in the book because they would have been wrong. So please, when you get your book, go to the back and read about Paterson by Jimmy Richardson. Oh, I forgot another person in the book. And I love this guy, man. I've known him for years, but Elvis Durham. And you've probably seen Elvis on cable TV at the council meetings, and he says what's on his mind. But the reason I chose him is he loves Paterson, New Jersey. As a matter of fact, I used quotes from everybody's story to kind of introduce their story. And his quote is so apropos because he says, Paterson don't know how to promote Paterson. And if you read his story, you'll find out why he says that. And he's constantly promoting Paterson. If you go on his YouTube channel or Facebook, he'll enlighten you on everything and anything Paterson. As a matter of fact, I go there just to find out what's opening up in Paterson, what new store, what's happening at the Center City Mall. But Elvis Durham, better known as Church Boy to Church Man. Give him a round of applause. Matter of fact, I had to pull the chain back a little bit because I saw him on cable, and he was at the council meeting, and he was promoting the book, and this is the greatest thing since Hinchcliffe Stadium. This thing gonna go international. I said, Elvis. And when I spoke to him about it, his response, I couldn't, Reverend Clayton, he said, listen, he spoke to the Lord, and the Lord told him this was gonna happen. I ain't messing with the Lord, you know. So from his mouth to God's ears. All right, so, but that's, he's a good brother. He knows Paterson backwards and frontwards. He promotes Paterson. And read his story, really, read his story. Thank you so much. Okay, listen, where's my wife? She told me not to, I'm running out of things to say about the book. So it's time for a joke. So, the wife was standing in front of the mirror. I think I told this to my frat brothers. And she was looking at herself, and she wasn't liking what she saw. Thinning hair, breast kind of sagging, varicose veins, little pop stomach. She started crying. Her husband's over there reading the newspaper. Ain't paying attention to her. Look at me, I'm so ugly. I can't stand look at myself. She looks at him. Well, say something. He said, what do you want me to say? She said, tell me something positive. He said, well, your eyesight's damn near perfect. Can't say that one around my wife. Good, I'm glad for you, brother. Any plans?
Not yet. Everybody here. We both got health issues.
Now, once you do it,
Stick around with our doctors at.
to him. Now, once you do it, his name will come right up.
She's retiring this year, so I'm thinking about we're thinking about moving to North Carolina.
I'm gonna let her decide. She's been doing most of the decisions anyway.
She's still working.
Hey, can you want him to sign it? Patterson Museum. I'm used to that.
Oh,
my love language. Or you're eating, so however you want to do it, whenever you gotta do it now, you can wait. You can talk to him.
It's for Deanna, D-A-N-N-A.
It's for me and Deanna.
Oh.
Oh, it's come from Deanna.
M.E.?
Oh, I got you. So, Rodney and Deanna.
M.E.?
What, M-E?
You said me and Deanna.
Oh, no, capital M, no, capital E. Mac Daddy Rodney, Sexy Deanna.
The book is, remember, it's nonfiction.
How much, man?
How do you spell his name?
So was it open? Oh, I was wondering, did you get it? It was 8 o'clock. At night. Okay. Got you. All right. Andre, hold on. Where you go?
Two F, you said? I-E-F-F?
will officially be a part of our collection.
Nice.
I'm looking at a condo.
Do you have, do you have this poster digital or anything, any press releases or anything? Because I can take a picture of the book and kind of promote it on our social media. I mean, I can work off of just the cover. If that's,
Sissy,
too much money.
do it. She's wanted all the artwork for you. Do you have any pictures that you did that were digital?
yeah, anything, so that we could, here at the museum, we could just put it straight on our social media to promote the book.
Pictures of,
Like pictures there, or pictures
I mean, I have pictures, because I did them like this. Like I have a picture of a book. You mean pictures of the people or just pictures of the book? Oh, yeah. I have them.
so you all
I'll make sure I get you my email address. If that's okay. And then, because I mean, I can take my own pictures of the book, but we've already done copies. And then we'll talk.
Thank you, Gail. Ladies and gentlemen and brothers, I just want to introduce another member of the participant in the book who came in, comedian extraordinaire, Miss Monique Latisca.
You go. that was two.
These are your 4 books.
Okay, those are my 4. Do me a favor.
What about a little box? Put them in? What about a little box?
What you need?
last year.
Okay.
A lot of work to get there.
Understand, listen, I'm glad you came.
Thank you, my dear.
My side of you, no.
So I went to San Francisco.
Nice.
Let me get my stuff.
For us, the brothers of Alpha Alpha here in Paterson, is definitely a significant afternoon, historical afternoon. Several things are going on in the city that's historical with us in Paterson. Not only are we doing our footprints in Paterson, Delta Mu Lambda, here at the museum, our exhibit. Our own brother Skip is having his book signing. Our brother T.J. Best, Commissioner, 4 terms, this is his last election, that's being held at the county office. Also, Brother Kenyatta Stewart is being honored by the county commissioners for Black History Month. So this is indeed a busy afternoon, but it's well worth it. I am Kenneth Sumter, the president of Paterson chapter here at Delta Mu Lambda. But before I begin, I would like to thank everyone for coming out on this snowy afternoon. But I do want to recognize a few distinguished people. First, our district director, Alex McLucas. Also, one of our charter members, only remaining charter member, Brother Joseph Fulmore, who's also part of At this time, we're going to turn it over to Brother Mosby, but we would like to thank, I personally like to thank the committee for putting these pieces together. It was like a puzzle. And so right now what we have is, when you have a puzzle and you put all the ends around, that's what we have now. Now we're going to start filling the process in as we go on, years going forward. And this project is not, it's for us here in Paterson now, but also for generations and generations and generations to come.
Thank you, Brother Sumter. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm Brother Dwayne Maltsby. I'm the chairman of the Footprints in Paterson committee. Before we begin, I just want to share a few words with you about how this idea came about. We were at a chapter meeting. Excuse me, guys. We were at a chapter meeting, and we noticed that one of our last remaining charter members had passed on, and we said, we have all this rich history here in Paterson where we have been serving for over 50 years. What's going to happen to that history once we're gone? And the idea came about that we would want to create an archive for future generations to come back and look at. And then that turned into, well, maybe we can have a display up at the museum to let people in Paterson know what Alpha is all about. And like Brother Sumter said, all those pieces together came to what we have today, Footprints in Paterson, Delta Mu Lambda. So I want to thank everybody for coming tonight, and I also want to introduce to you the committee members. And before I do that, let me just say that this is not a one-shot deal. We have created an archive, and we've created a partnership with the museum so that we will continue to move forward. This archive that we're creating with the museum will continue to grow. It's a growing thing, so as we continue to do things in Paterson, we'll be able to add more and more things to the archive. And hopefully, years from now, people will come back and say, well, what was Delta Mu Lambda doing, back in 1973? And they'll be able to go to one of the boxes and pull out exactly what we were doing. So we wanted to just make sure that we preserved history, not only for ourselves, but for our posterity. The committee members are Dr. Fulmore, Brother Dr. Fulmore. Brother Cheyenne Fulmore. And one of our newest members who jumped right in and got on board with us and has been a tremendous help, Brother Sheldon Prescott. We have two more committee members that are not. Oh, here's one right now. Brother Charles Pettiford and Brother Reverend Kenneth Cleveland. That's the committee member. None of this would be possible without the help of these two people here. Heather, and Jim, who's the director, of the museum. They have been a tremendous help with us working towards making this all possible. And we look forward to continuing our work with you all. On behalf of the committee, we just want to present you all with a little token of appreciation, just to let you know we appreciate all the help that you've done for us over these past months. Heather, thank you. Thank you.
To God be the glory for an amazing event tonight. The book signing of my second book, Up Close in Paterson, and the historical launch of the archives of Delta Mu Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. This book has been such a blessing. It was a blessing while I was writing it. It was a labor of love. I learned so much about the people in the book, many of whom came out this evening, even after the snow. But I'm just blessed, beyond blessed. I truly hope that people will pick up the book to read. As I mentioned earlier, it's not about it becoming a bestseller. It's not about me making more money, but it's about our beloved city of Paterson and the people who call themselves Patersonians. Once again, to God be the glory. Amen.
Dale Skip Van Rensalier, better known to me as Dad. Congratulations on your new book release. Very proud of you. I love you. And I'm excited for all the things that's to come. You a fine brother. I just want to let you know that. And I know where I get it from. But thank you for having me. Thank you for being my dad. And I thank you for writing this book. I'm excited to read it, honestly, because I want to read about the history about everybody else and everything like that. But appreciate you, Dad. Love you.